I've been asked a lot how the idea came about of putting free and anonymous mental health screenings in the boxes of firearms or in their packaging. And the origin story is pretty cool. I used to pass out wristbands. Many of you who are followers of Walk Talk America have seen our wristbands that lead to free and anonymous mental health screenings. I've told this story many times. I got the idea from my daughter who is struggling with anxiety and felt better after she took a free and anonymous screening for anxiety. And I thought, what way can we get firearms owners to think about their mental health, to test the waters, to see where they stand upstairs? And I said, let's put it on a band. And we were passing them out at gun shows. And what it really was a conversation starter. We had a lot of people that were coming up to the booth and they said, well, what is this? I'm like, free and anonymous mental health screenings for firearms owners. And then they would share some kind of story of how they overcame crisis or how they knew someone was in crisis, or maybe it was a suicide loss story. But the reaction that I was getting from the people that were coming towards the booth was all positive. And when the way I was looking at it was, well, what's the next step to this? Like, how could we get these screenings in the hands of more gun owners? And kind of hit me. I was like, well, what if we were to put it on a card and we put it in the box of every firearm, just like we do a manual, a safety manual? And that's when we came up with the idea at Eagle Imports to be the first to do this type of program where you're getting free and anonymous mental health screenings in the hands of everyone that buys the firearm. And that way, you don't have to just attend a gun show and run into me at a booth to know that this exists. And it was really interesting because when we first started with the program, we didn't know how it was going to end. We didn't know if it was going to make people angry. We didn't know if our customer base would be turned off by the idea that we were asking them to take a screening if they needed it. Those are all things that you have to think about as a business, right? You have to think about your customer. You have to think about how are they going to react to what you're telling them? Will it be something positive? And I remember us having meetings talking about, okay, well, what about other organizations? What about the trade organizations of the industry, the NRAs, the NSSFs? Will they be skeptical of what we were doing? Because this was all new at the time. And we prepared for it. And we started, at first I had to go back to my manufacturers and tell them what I wanted to do. I had to get their blessing because I was going to be putting the card in the box of all the firearms at my facility. Many of you know that I had an importer, so the guns would come into the United States. We would open the packaging at the warehouse, we'd insert the card, and then we'd ship out the firearms to the distributors. Distributors would sell them to the dealers, and then the dealers would sell them to the customer off the street who wants to own a firearm. The response we got was positive. It was actually mind-blowing how positive it was. It was a relief for us. And it first started off with a few phone calls here and there where people were saying, hey, I bought a Bursa or I bought a Grand Power and I noticed that you have this card in the box. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for doing that. It's really cool that you're doing that. And these stories are all anecdotal, but they start to add up. As time went by, every month that passed that we were putting more guns into circulation, getting them in the hands of firearms owners, more of these cards are getting out there and the story was getting out there. And what we realized is there was nobody that had a problem with it. That was the greatest part about this whole program was we weren't getting calls from the trade organization saying, why are you tiptoeing up to a line that we've never crossed before, working with the mental health organization to put these screenings in the hands of firearms owners? It just made sense. So the next step was, well, let me go and approach some of the other firearms manufacturers and see if they'd be willing to do it as well. And I remember two of the first companies that I approached, because I'm friends with the owners, the presidents, were MKS, which is High Point Firearms, and Arms Corps, Martin Tuason from Arms Corps. And I remember asking them, hey, we want to add value to your consumer, right? Value, you think of value added services as resources, all kinds of things. You want to keep your customer mentally healthy. What better way than to give them the opportunity to take a free and anonymous mental health screening? And free, everybody loves free. That's universal. But firearms owners in general love to be anonymous. We don't want to be put on any lists. We don't want to tell people what we're doing. We want to just do it. And this gave the ability for them to do it in the comfort of their home on their own time. And the reaction, once again, was great. Both Charlie Brown from MKS and Martin Tuason from Arms Corp both said, that's a really good idea. And I want to do that for my customers because let's face it, everybody, if we don't have healthy customers, then what do we got? We got nothing. Firearms, we all know the statistics. 2/3 of all firearm deaths are suicide. If we can bring that number down, that number cannot be used against us. And we're also adding a value service to our consumer because they'll be in a good space if they know where they stand or they have family members where they can say, hey, take one of these screenings. Let's see where you're at and let's overcome it because all crisis is temporary. And this is a good place to start. If you're a firearms manufacturer, if you're a accessory manufacturer for firearms, I mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to have healthy customers.